Mm-hmm.
Howdy and welcome everybody to tonight's interview. My name is Frank Salas. I go by the name The Talented Mr. Salas. I'm the founder of the Talent Tribe. It's an online supportive group of online entrepreneurs where we all support each other. And one of the members in the Talent Tribe is Folashade. She is an accountant by trade in New York City. And she has been very, very helpful to get a lot of people's taxes in order, how to sort out your PayPal, how to write off your Active Campaign or your ClickFunnels or whatever tech stacks that you're using that have a monthly fee. We're going to talk about all of that so you know what it's like to do business as an online entrepreneur. And maybe if you have a brick and mortar, we're going to delve into that soon. But without further ado, Folashade, introduce yourself, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good evening. Some people, I know, Frank, you have people all over the world following you. So, hey, everybody. I'm Folashade, the accountant to entrepreneurs. You know, basically what I do, I just help entrepreneurs get a grip of their finances. You cannot build a massive $1 million business if you're paying half of that in taxes. Okay. So just like the title of this discussion, hey, how to rip off taxes, just like Trump. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But that's what I do. I protect your wealth from taxes.
I love that. So, you know, speaking of Trump, like we have the title for our live stream as we're live streaming this is how to rip off taxes from like Donald Trump. You know, for somebody who doesn't know how to legally manipulate the system and to pay less taxes, that might seem like, oh, that's a really bad thing. But when my friends tell me, hey, I avoided 600 grand in taxes, I'm like, man, that's really cool. How did you do that? Walk me through that. But some people might not view money or taxes that way. Can you maybe help us to see why it's so important for us to save money on our taxes?
Okay, well, first off, taxes is one of the biggest and the only guaranteed expense of any business. So if you cannot control your taxes, you cannot control your profits or your revenue. So if your goal is to make the 6 figures, if your goal is to make the 7, 8, 9 figures, then guess what? You have to have a badass accountant that can actually prevent you from paying over 50% of what you make in taxes. So it's really important that you know different loopholes. But see, this is where the mistake is coming from, Frank. They're thinking that it's a form of fraud. No, what we're talking about is actually tax planning. So all of the loopholes that we find out, it's actually done during tax planning. That's what we're here for. So we can plan to prevent you from paying too much taxes.
I love that. So a lot of people, especially who are doing business online, I remember like back in the day, a lot of business owners used to come to the accountant with the shoebox full of receipts. And now the new thing of that is kind of like, here's my PayPal full of receipts. And I've been using PayPal for my online business or Square or Stripe. And I'm using all these online things, but I'm not taking out taxes. Every time I sell a package for $1,000, I think as an online entrepreneur, all those $1,000 are mine. But then at the end of the year, things don't add up that way. Maybe you can shed some light to people who are in that route.
Well, let me be honest with you, and I'm about to shut this down. Let me say this. PayPal, Stripe, they are not your accountant. They are not, those platforms is not your bookkeeping. Okay, so you cannot use those platforms as a means to tracking your expenses and stuff of that nature. But my recommendation is if you live in a state that doesn't have state taxes, woohoo, then you only need to collect 17% of taxes that you need to save throughout the year. But if you're in a state like me, we have to pay state taxes, then you want to be able to save at least 20% of all of your revenues for taxes. Even if we are not going to use that money to pay off your taxes, because if you have an account like me, you won't have to pay that much. But putting it to the side is where it matters the most. So, Frank, they need to at least put down 20% of every $1,000 that they make aside for taxes.
That's great. That's absolutely great because I remember when I was 20 years old, I started my first business and it went very well the first year. And I thought that I made all the money that we had brought in. And I'm like, oh, I'm balling. And then all of a sudden, you know, 21-year-old little Frankie comes into the tax accountant and be like, oh yeah, how much is my refund going to be this year? And I'm like, refund? No, dude, you made way too much money. Oh, and you're a business owner? Okay. And so let's talk about some fees. So I ended up paying an absurd amount for me to the government, and I wasn't prepared for something like that. And that was like, I was going to live on this. I was going to travel on this. I was going to buy new Jordans. I was going to do everything. But that didn't happen that way. So for somebody who is coming to, meet with their accountant or their business priest, as I like to call it, what should they bring before they come to confession?
Oh, well, before they come to confession, they at least need to bring their financial statements, Frank. But see, since we're dealing with individuals that may not have financial statements because they're using PayPal as their bookkeeping, they need to print out as many different PayPal reports as possible. You want the reports that break down the PayPal fees that's associated with your transactions. You want them to bring in a log of all of the payments that they received via PayPal. But see, this is where it gets tricky, because so many small businesses is using PayPal as if it's the bank, and they're forgetting that there's a lot of personal expenses within that PayPal account. So that's where it gets tricky, Frank. But the more detailed or explanatory that you are with your transactions would help. But just know every type of report possible that you can retrieve from PayPal. So you at least need 4 to 5 reports. We need the report that explains all of the revenue that we made. We need a report that explains all of the fees that we pay PayPal. We also need a report that explains all of the expenses that we paid using PayPal as well. And then you want also the report that can show you what personal expenditures did you make from your PayPal. So you need at least 4 to 5 reports if you're not using bookkeeping. But I still go back, Frank, they need to be doing bookkeeping, because PayPal is not it. And with Stripe, you don't even have that many reports. So we're also very limited with Stripe. Stripe, I think we can possibly get 2 reports, but I have yet to find a report with Stripe that breaks down all of their fees.
That's crazy. And I know, like, I mostly use PayPal. I am now switching over to Stripe just to accept payments from all over the world. It's easier for me. And I live off of PayPal when it comes to Airbnb and Uber. Now, I work from home, and I also do like a lot of live stream, and I'm in Colombia right now, and I got a lot of facial work done, a lot of medical facials, a lot of like collagen.
You look good.
All this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I have these receipts. Can I write this off? Because part of my job is to look good on camera. Is that something that I can write off? Well,
see, it depends on your accountant. And let's really be honest, any type of those by law, okay? Because the tax code is so old, it is not geared towards the lifestyle that we eat and sleep right now. So to be honest with you, based on the actual tax code, they are not deductible, okay? However, we can figure out a direct correlation between your personal, enhancements and your success online. You cannot, and then let's do a direct comparison. Not to say that the prettiest people make the most money, but they actually kind of do make almost the most money if their hustle is there. So we just have to figure out a direct correlation between your procedures that you got done and also showing that, okay, well, without these procedures, Frank would not be able to go online confidently and speak eloquently or professionally to his tribe to sell and make this money. And if I was your accountant, this is what I would do. Every time you get a procedure, I'll look at your ratings the next day that you live stream or that day that you live stream and see if there's some sort of pattern when you're feeling beautiful and pretty. And if there is a pattern, I'm going to write it off. And then the moment you get audited, I'm going to show them, well, okay, well, you don't want him to deduct this. However, based on this pattern, it shows that he makes more money when he's beautiful, when he's feeling good, or when he has his facials and his massage and all that stuff, than if he operates like everybody else. So it's up to your accountant, to be honest with you.
Woo! I love that. Yeah, I'll be getting more facials, I'll be getting more massages, more manicures, everything. So no, this is really great stuff. A lot of people on here are giving some amazing feedback. We got about 100 live viewers and about a dozen people joining us right now, and of course several hundred people watching this on the replay. I know you're helping out a lot of people. When you meet with an entrepreneur, and people who are in the online space are really newer entrepreneurs, and they haven't really achieved a lot of success. One person that I know in my circles has actually sold several $1 million on information products in the last year. Now, information products I love because there's no overhead. It just costs me my knowledge and my brain, and put it in there, a few graphics here and there, but it's mostly profit. Now, I love profit, but so does Uncle Sam and Trump, and they always want their cut. So talk to me about informational products and how I can, save some money on taxes or take that income and invest it in other vessels that might or take away from those taxes coming in.
Okay, so let's be honest. You already just nipped it in the bud. There's very little overhead or expenses that's tied into informational products. See, that's a lot of online-based entrepreneurs get in a lot of trouble and owe a lot of money because of it, of no overhead. But the trick is this: you have to now start investing into yourself. That is really the only way to beat the system. So many people wonder why Trump and all of the wealthy people don't pay enough taxes. It's because they invest in themselves. They invest in the health insurance, the most expensive one. So when they go to the doctors, they don't pay a copay. And what happens is this: they write it off on their taxes. They also invest in insurance products that I cannot even discuss here because I'm not giving everybody my tricks for my 7-figure and 6-figure earners. But there are some instruments, Frank, that we can actually put up to $215,000 cash money in and avoid taxes in its entirety on $215,000. So the trick is this: you have to start reinvesting into yourself. So if I were you and I'm like a nomad or I'm an online-based business and I do not have any type of overhead, guess what? You have to start investing in you. So go and get the life insurance policy. But this is the trick though, Frank. You can't buy the life insurance policy for Frank. Your business. See, this is where your accountant come into play. See, you guys cannot operate these type of mechanics without having us. Your business is the one that have to buy the life insurance for Frank. Okay? So when your business buy the life insurance for Frank, the business writes it all. So Frank get the actual benefit, but the business get the expenses and the deductions. In addition to that, you guys want to start investing into your 401k. You want to set it up on yourself. You want to set up a SEP. You want to start building wealth. So if you know you're making a killing online, if you know that you don't want to pay a lot in taxes, I need you to start setting up your business the right way so you can make the right investments.
This is amazing. So people are just blowing up with shares and hearts live on Periscope. They're asking for your contact information. Mm-hmm. So tell them where they can find you.
Oh, well, if you're interested at all, I am having a free webinar on Thursday, April 6th, 5 ways to use your bookkeeping to grow. Because basically we cannot do any of this without having the business in order. We cannot write off hundreds of thousands of dollars without having your business in order. So if anyone is interested in coming and joining me and several other amazing entrepreneurs doing this webinar, go to bit.ly/business bookkeeping.
Love it.
bit.ly/business bookkeeping.
Awesome. bit.ly/business bookkeeping. That's for your most recent webinar. And then what are your social channels where people can follow you and just get all this?
Okay. So I'm on all my social media channels. I am Folashade Accountant, FOLASADE Accountant, or at Folashade the Accountant. So cross on all social media, Folashade Accountant or Folashade the Accountant.
Awesome. I still got some few more questions. This is kind of personal. So I spend about 4 to 5 figures a month personally on my businesses on Facebook ads. And Facebook ads for me are amazing because if I put in $1 to Facebook, I'm typically getting about $15 to $16 out of Facebook. That being said, they're probably my biggest expense outside of labor. What can I do with those expenses every month to Facebook?
Well, first off, the expenses is a 100% write-off. So your biggest struggle, Frank, will be to the bookkeeping part, tracking the expenses. If we aren't tracking the expenses and we know you're spending $4 or $5 grand on Facebook and it's not in your books and it's not shown in your tax return, we've already lost money. So it's really up to you to say, you know what? I'm spending so much money on Facebook. Let me now on a month-to-month basis take that information and plug it into my bookkeeping.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And that's 100% right. So if I do a Facebook ad, if my Facebook ads for the month of April are 1,000 and I make 10,000, I just write off that 1,000 and I still have to account for that extra 10,000, but then I can use somebody like yourself to negate that.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, I want to flip over to labor. So I'm a big proponent of virtual assistants and outsourcing to developing nations and countries that are not inside of America. What I'm doing right now, and I'm not an accountant, and I'm working with somebody, I'm writing off 100% of that as independent contractors, so long as they are under certain amounts. I don't know. I kind of give to somebody and say, hey, handle this. But what's like the legal viewpoint on working with outsourced labor in different countries?
You know what, Frank, let me be honest with you. I just reached out to a bad entrepreneur via Facebook because she's making a killing and she's now paying her squad, like her tribe, once, like as a commission, right? So this is kind of similar to your situation. So the trick is this: by law, if you don't issue them a 1099, the IRS can negate all of those payments. So it's very, very, very important that any payment that exceeds, well, any amount that exceeds $600, every VA that's on your team, every person that's on your squad, I don't care if they're a US-based VA or out-of-state based VA, they need to be issued a 1099. Because to be honest with you, if they were legitimately a contractor, had a business, they will probably force you to issue them that 1099 if they were US based. But the reason why it's important that you all do so is so we can write it off. See, this is where the trick comes into place. And I don't think a lot of people understand this. The IRS is not a major organization. The IRS is that one person that gets your paperwork and audit your documents. See, they have so much control. It's scary, Frank. So if that person want to be an ass, excuse my vulgarity, I don't know if your tribe, hey, they should know I curse a little bit. If they want to be a bit anal, Frank, and you don't issue out those 1099s for any payments that exceed $600, guess what? It's up to them to say, you know what? I negate all of the payments that were made to all of your out-of-state, out-of-country contractors. So it's really important that you sit down and accumulate how much you paid them on an annual basis and issue them a 1099. They may be pissed, but they're not required to file the taxes, but it's a requirement for you to be able to write it off. And that's what really matters the most to me. Issue them the 1099 so we won't have a problem writing it off.
I love it. That's probably the most clear answer I've ever heard on that, and I ask that to every accountant that I ever meet. So yeah, that broke it down very, very well. Just to clarify, that is on if you pay them more than $600 annually, then you should.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
So we had some questions coming in from our live stream, and they're asking, this was Rachel, and she's out in California. She's asking, do you have any recommended bookkeeping software for solopreneurs or starting entrepreneurs?
Okay, so Rachel, this is how I operate. It depends on what you want. Rachel, if you want to be a small, only making six figures, $100,000, not really making any money, not growing, then go and get Xero, go and get FreshBooks. You understand? Go and get Wave. They are the type of softwares that's set up for solopreneurs that is so easy and streamlined. But if you want to really grow your business, if you really want to use your data as leverage and to not pay as much taxes, to have all the reports that you need, I recommend you going with QuickBooks because it is the type of software that will grow with your firm. Those other three that I mentioned, FreshBooks, Xero, they don't grow with you. The moment you get over let's say $250,000, Xero going to start crashing on you. So my recommendation is if you know you're trying to build $1 million business, Rachel, go and get your QuickBooks now. Go and learn the software. Go and learn how to read your financial statements. So if anything, you'll know everything about your business.
I love that. I love that. Switching gears, this was coming from me as well. I am officially starting my B2B agency where I just handle websites and advertising and SEO and all these other business online marketing services. When I take people's Facebook ads or SEO or Google AdWords payments, I have them pay me directly. And I am now using one of those like fancy promo cards wherever I spend money on whatever. I get points and flights and stuff like that. Is that something that is a liability possibly for me paying for the ads myself directly from the client's payment?
Okay, so now, Frank, this stems back to now you have to track everything. So what I would end up doing is having, like, you're going to have to use QuickBooks. You personally cannot use Xero. You cannot use any of those basic softwares, okay? You're going to have it set up so you can track their balances as well. And what will happen is every amount that we spend per individual business for marketing, we need to be able to track what we spent per business. So the trick for you is not the debit card. The trick for you is tracking what you spent per person, so we can allot that to whatever tracking mechanism that you're using for them. And so at the end of the year, guess what? When you file your taxes, it'll say Facebook ads for B2B businesses, and it'll have, let's say, $1 million there. But if you were to get audited, when we pull that million, they will see within all of that per company what you spent and then what that person actually paid you. So you're going to just have to track this. Your tracking have to be tight.
Right.
That's the scary part with you, because any slip up or any inconsistencies can hurt us in the long run.
Right. All right. Final question. We're going to wrap up because I know you're very busy and you've been having actually 2 more questions. So we can have multiple business files in the same QuickBooks account.
Can you?
Yes.
Only with desktop.
Only with desktop. Awesome. And then the final question is, if you have not paid taxes in several years, I'm talking like 8 or 9 or maybe a decade or more, what should be your first course of action? You've had jobs and you just haven't filed. What's going to happen?
Well, your first course of action is, if you don't have all of the paperwork to file those taxes, you need to first request. So you want to submit a 4506T so you can request all of your information returns. So that'll be the first step. Let's see what was reported in your name. If the income reported in your name wasn't sufficient for you have to file for some years, then don't file those years. But for all of the years that your income exceeded a certain amount, then you have to file those taxes. Because what we don't want them to do, and this IRS so shady, y'all, they're going to wait until they know y'all making a lot of money, and then they're going to come after you and they're going to throw you the book. Because see, what that's considered is actually tax evasion. You try to evade or avoid paying taxes, and you don't want that to be considered. So my recommendation is fill out the 4506T, see what's been filed. If a few years the income wasn't sufficient, don't worry about it. But to be honest, what you file it, we might get a refund. It might help us out now, but just try to file all of your back taxes, because we don't want them to come at you when you're making millions of dollars, and then put you out there like all those celebrities, because they will.
Got you like Wesley Snipes in jail.
Yes.
All right, this is super helpful. I really want to encourage everybody in the Talent Tribe, and if you're not yet in the Talent Tribe, make sure you look us up on Facebook. It's a free Facebook group called the Talent Tribe. You can go to bit.ly/talented1. I share a lot of my marketing knowledge on there, but I also bring experts like Folashade who are insanely knowledgeable in accounting and taxes and how to set up your business and how to save money, guys. If your money isn't right, you need to be working with somebody that can help you get your money right, because like Folashade said, if you're using softwares and systems and this is your year where you just break that barrier and now you're dealing with bigger problems, you don't know what's on the other side of that barrier unless you work with a true professional. So you're getting a lot of love here on Facebook. Everyone's saying you're awesome.
Thank you, guys.
They learned a lot. Now, where can they find you again? How can they follow you? Where can they connect with you?
Okay, well, you guys can follow me on all social media. I'm also on Periscope. Are you doing this on Periscope? I don't even know where we are, Frank. If you're doing this on Periscope, I'm Folashade the Accountant, so follow me. If you're on Periscope, I would love that. If you're also on Facebook, I'm Folashade the Accountant on Facebook as well. Go and like my page, guys. Give me some love. But most importantly, just come to my site. Come to my webinar on Thursday. That's what really matters, because, Frank, I'm on a movement. My goal is to make more millionaires out here possible, but it starts from having a right foundation. It starts from having the right connections. And so many people so upset at our president, at Trump, and all of these successful people, and all of my clients, because they don't pay a lot of taxes. But the trick is this: you don't have the right squad. So come and join me on my webinar on Thursday, bit.ly/business bookkeeping.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hey guys, I'm Frank Salas. I go by the name of Talented Mr. Salas. If you like trainings like this where we help you get your online business, your offline business, or both where it needs to be, make sure you follow me everywhere at Talented Mr. Salas and find me everywhere on social media at Talented Mr. Salas. My website is talentedmrsalas.com. If there's any questions that you have, make sure you leave a comment down below and make sure you guys subscribe. Folashade, thank you again. We really
thank you, Frank. Look, they don't even know this is so impromptu. Like, oh, Frank, you ready now? He's like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. So no, thank you, Frank, for the opportunity. Everybody have an amazing day. Okay.
Awesome.